Hi, New Life. My name is Alex DeRosa. I'm our lead pastor, and today we're concluding our discovery of discovering stories. And so we're walking through some helpful hints. And today I just want to talk about how do we follow up? So if we've shared our story or they share their stories with us, what do we do next? And so the first thing is to know that discovering stories doesn't happen usually just in one setting completely. We don't know everything about a person because we've heard one story or one account. There's usually more layers involved. And so while we might have heard a piece of the story, there's usually more underneath. And so it's okay to continue asking questions and continue thinking of this discovering stories as a process. This whole thing is a journey when we're developing relationships and showing the love of Jesus to our ones. And it's a long-term process. So discovering stories doesn't just happen in one relationship. So it's helpful to, in between meetups, maybe to pray, to follow up. And so if someone said something about how they've been hurt recently at work or they have this relationship issue, it's good to text or to follow up and say, hey, how are you doing with that? Like, what's going on with that? Or say, hey, I've been praying for you in this area. Can you follow up? So if there's an active thing, a part of their story, and share. I mean, even right now, after this is done, I'm going to go text my buddy who recently told me about something at work that's going on. I'm just going to ask how that's going. So we can follow up, we can pray, we can do stuff in the meantime before we come back. And then when we get back together, let's be intentional about following up with that struggle or pain point or other difficulty, not to continue like twisting the knife where someone has been hurt before, but to simply say like, hey, how is that going? Or have you talked to your wife about that or whatever, just to follow up to show that you care, that you are listening, that you are invested into their lives as well. Also, it's important to know that like we don't have to feel the need to go into deep conversations every time we talk to someone. So if we're discovering their stories on a Monday, then we get back together 2 weeks from now, we don't have to say, all right, like we're back in it. Like, let's go deeper. You shared a little bit. Let's go even deeper into it. Instead, what we can do is just allow the conversation to go as it naturally is going to go. And so sometimes it's helpful, I know for me, to not have to have a deep conversation with the same person over and over and over. Sometimes you feel like, oh man, our relationship is just so draining emotionally because all we do is talk about deep things. So it's good sometimes to have a deep conversation one time. And then maybe the next time just hang out and talk about maybe more light things or hobbies or whatever. And then maybe the next time you go back in and ask some deeper questions. So it's okay to, again, think of this as a journey. So no one wants to be completely drained by our questions, and no one wants to even be feeling like that the only reason you're interested in talking to them is because of these deep things. And so, yeah, it's okay to kind of allow that there to be a rhythm with your relationship. Another thing is when we are discovering stories, maybe there's something that stuck out to you from the last time that they talked to you, and you can kind of come back and say, hey, I had a question. I was reflecting on that. And did you ever have an experience? And then you can kind of go in with it further. And so, for instance, some things that might pick out is maybe someone had church hurt. So they referenced something about a church, but maybe you want to follow up and say, hey, were you at a church before? Did someone there kind of impact you in a negative way? Or maybe you could talk about like something and someone's family pushed them away from religion. So was your parents controlling in that, or did they force you to behave a certain way? Like, what was going on there? And maybe sometimes people feel like they're just too bad to go to church. I've heard people say before, like, if I even just walk in, lightning is going to strike me. And so sometimes you could ask those questions like, why would you say that? Or do you know that like all of us have sinned and fall short of God's perfection? That's literally why Jesus came, because none of us are actually good. And then if they have questions, field those. And so sometimes people are not willing to go into church because they have some hang-ups regarding Jesus or God or anything regarding spirituality. And so sometimes we just have questions that need answers. So it's good to field some of those questions, and it's okay to not know all the answers. Sometimes we don't know the answers. And what I do in those situations is I say, I don't know. That's a great question. Let me see if I can find the answer. And so maybe I'll go read or ask Pastor Chris, or founding pastor, or I'll pray and ask God, please reveal this to me so that I can follow up. And then next time I say, hey, you asked that question and I looked into it and this is the answer. And it's okay sometimes to just say like, I need a little bit more time to do that. And sometimes it's okay to even say, I still don't know about that answer. So let's just be honest regarding that. And when people ask questions, let's not make them feel stupid. Let's not be like shocked, like, wow, why would you even ask that? How dare you not have enough faith? No. Instead, we can answer, like, field those questions and then respond in love. So again, remember, this is a journey. We're walking it through with people. It's okay to have questions. I remember coming to faith, I had a ton of questions. I continued to pepper my youth pastor with questions before I was ready to accept Jesus. And then even after that, I had a ton of questions. And that's the thing. We are still walking alongside this with people. When someone trusts in Jesus as Lord and Savior, when one of our ones comes to know Jesus, whether it's because of a direct interaction we have with them or something else that brings them to Jesus, we can still walk along with them so that we can help them grow to be like Jesus. In all of our videos, we would encourage you to ask any questions you have during this process. Ask them below, and we want to field them. And next week, we're going to be walking through them. Matt and I are going to do that. But the specific feedback question for today is this. What are some barriers to discovering your one story? So what are some hang-ups maybe you have or that have been put up? Or is it how often you get together? Is it their unwillingness to answer some of these questions? Or maybe they have so many questions you feel inadequate to answer. Whatever it is, what is a barrier that you have regarding discovering your one story? Share it below. Maybe we can help one another, or we can pray over that, and we can maybe even respond, because some of us might have the same exact barriers too. Thank you so much for watching once again. Let us continue looking for ways to help our ones come to know Jesus so we can continue bringing God's kingdom here to earth. We'll talk to you soon.